These 8 useful English words will lift your fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score. And you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. Tom had come to the Grand Hotel for the most ordinary reason in the world, a job interview for a job washing dishes. He could not possibly have guessed that within the hour, 200 people would be applauding him as the most important man in the room. It began at the front desk. A tall, flustered woman wearing a manager's badge rushed up to him, seized his hand in both of hers, and cried, "Monsieur Laurent, at last, we were so afraid you would not come." Tom opened his mouth to explain that his name was not Laurent, that he was only here about the kitchen job, but the woman was already pulling him across the marble floor, talking far too fast to interrupt. He assumed there had been some small mistake that would sort itself out in a moment. He assumed wrong. Her name, she said, was Marguerite, and she was the hotel manager. This was a lie, but Tom did not know that yet. "The whole staff is terrified," she whispered. "The greatest food critic in the country, here in our little restaurant. Please, sit at the head table. Taste anything you like. One word from you can make us or ruin us." And so, through nothing but politeness and panic, Tom found himself seated at the grandest table in the room, 200 guests watching, a silver fork in his hand, and absolutely no idea what a famous food critic was actually supposed to do. He decided the only way out was to pretend. He would pretend, just for a few minutes, until he could quietly slip away. He tasted the soup, frowned with great thought, and said the first clever-sounding thing that floated into his head. Bold, very bold. The kitchen erupted in delight. He said it was bold. The word raced from table to table. Tom, who had meant absolutely nothing by it, now had to improvise an entire opinion on the spot about the bread, the fish, the sauce, improvising wildly, inventing fancy words he had once heard on television. It was going almost well, right up until the blunder. Reaching for the salt, Tom knocked an entire glass of red wine clean across the white tablecloth, a slow scarlet blunder that spread before 200 horrified eyes. He was mortified. His face burned scarlet to match the wine. This surely was the moment someone would leap up, point, and denounce him as a fraud. But Marguerite only laughed, a little too loudly, and clapped her hands. "A test!" she announced brightly. "Monsieur Laurent is testing how well we handle a disaster." The staff applauded, and Tom understood, with a strange cold feeling, that Marguerite was somehow even more frightened than he was. Because Marguerite, it turned out, had a secret of her own. She was not the manager at all. The real manager had fainted from nerves an hour before, and Marguerite, the junior assistant, had simply put on the badge and pretended to be in charge, terrified of ruining the hotel's biggest day. 2 frauds, then, sat side by side at the head of that grand luncheon, each assuming the other was the real, important one. Each one secretly flustered, each one bluffing, each one privately certain the other could see straight through them. It might have gone on all afternoon, but then the great doors swung open and a small, round man marched in, red in the face with fury. "I am Laurent," he barked. "The food critic. My taxi was an hour late. And who?" His eyes landed on Tom. "Who is sitting in my chair?" For one long, frozen second, nobody breathed. Then Tom and Marguerite turned and looked at each other. 2 imposters, finally seen and thoroughly mortified, and did the only sensible thing 2 people in their position could possibly do. They ran. They fled together into the kitchen, gasping with panic and, all at once, helpless laughter. "You're not the manager? You're not the critic." What an absurd coincidence that 2 frightened liars had bluffed an entire hotel, and an even stranger coincidence that, against all sense, they had rather enjoyed every second of it. It should have ended in disgrace. Instead, the real Laurent, who had watched the final act from the doorway, was so charmed by the sheer, awkward, hopeful nonsense of it all that he wrote a glowing review of the most entertaining luncheon in the country. The hotel was saved. Marguerite kept her job and confessed everything to a manager far too relieved to be angry, and Tom, who had only ever wanted to wash dishes, was offered a place at the head of the dining room instead, on one single awkward condition: that he never ever be allowed near the wine again. Now, did you catch all 8? Let's find out. An adjective for being embarrassing and uncomfortable. Think of tripping in front of a crowd or forgetting a name mid-sentence. It describes Tom's whole impossible situation at the head table. Saying the wrong thing left the whole table in what kind of silence.
The word is awkward.
There was an awkward pause after she asked the question. A verb meaning to suppose something is true without checking it. It's deciding a thing is so before you have any real proof. Tom did this, believing the mix-up would quickly sort itself out. He wrongly did what? Believed the misunderstanding would fix itself?
The word is assume.
Don't assume she is late just because she missed one bus. A verb meaning to act as if something is true when it is not. A child does it with a cardboard box and a brave imagination. Tom did this. Playing the famous food critic, he was certainly not. He chose to do what? To act as the great critic just for a few minutes?
The word is pretend.
She had to pretend she liked the gift she secretly hated. An adjective for being confused, nervous, and agitated. It's that hot, flapping panic when everything happens at once. Marguerite was exactly this as she rushed Tom to the table. The poor woman grew more and more. What? As the lunch went on.
The word is flustered.
He got flustered and forgot his lines on the big stage. A noun for a careless, embarrassing mistake. It's the clumsy slip that makes a whole room suddenly go quiet. Tom's was a glass of red wine spilt across a white cloth. Knocking over the wine was a what in front of 200 guests. The word is blunder. Forgetting the client's name was a truly costly blunder. A verb meaning to make something up on the spot with no preparation. A jazz musician does it, creating the tune as they go along. Tom did this, inventing fancy opinions about every dish he tasted. With no real knowledge, he had to do what? Invent an entire review.
The word is improvise.
When the music suddenly stopped, the dancers had to improvise. An adjective for feeling extremely embarrassed and ashamed. It's wanting the floor to open up and swallow you whole. Tom felt this as the red wine spread across the white cloth. He was utterly what in front of the watching crowd.
The word is mortified.
She was mortified when she accidentally called the teacher Mum. A noun for two things happening together purely by chance. It's bumping into an old friend in a foreign city, by luck alone. Two complete frauds at one table was a remarkable one. What an absurd what? That two liars had fooled each other?
The word is coincidence.
By sheer coincidence, they had booked the very same flight. Quick recap. How many do you still remember?
Awkward.
Assume. Cuomo.
Pretend. Flustered.
Blunder.
Improvise. Mortified. Coincidence.
A new English story every day. Subscribe and learn useful words the way your brain actually keeps them. Inside a story you won't forget.